Hey, this is Brandon, aka Fling with DFS Army. Today I'm going to talk about the mistakes that are costing you money on Underdog Fantasy and how to fix them if you want to be a profitable player this year on Underdog. So, this video is essentially for the person who may have just discovered DFS drafts, maybe you've been grinding best ball drafts all summer long. You love drafting, you're addicted to drafting. You are seeing these contests in the Underdog lobby, and you're thinking, maybe I want to give DFS a try. Maybe I want to try to take down 50K to first. Maybe, I want to go after this dog bowl qualifier to, maybe go to a live final in Kansas City for a chance to win 200K. The first question to ask yourself, though, is what kind of player do you want to be? What are your goals? That's really the first type of question that you need to ask yourself in daily fantasy sports. So if you're the person that just wants to, play every week, take some shots, 50K to first, just have some sweat in the game, no big deal. You put in 10 of these drafts, you spent $70. Maybe you put in 20 of these drafts, you spend $140. Whatever it may be, you're fine losing that money taking shots, then great. This video may not be for you. If you are someone who's tired of losing money on Underdog Fantasy and you think, I want to make a profit this year, or at the very least, I want to deposit week one and I don't want to have to deposit again. I want to be able to grow a bankroll and take some shots on these contests, but not have to just hemorrhage money and deposit each and every week, then this video is for you. So the first thing we're going to talk about, being a profitable DFS player. If you know that's your goal, then we want to focus on contest selection. So let me go back here a little bit. So, you got to think of this as like a portfolio. So if you're thinking in any given week, you're going to play 5 to 10% of your bankroll. And maybe that is $100 for you. Maybe it's $1,000 for you. Whatever that amount is for you, you have to decide, what type of contest are you going to play for that. So if we establish that you want to be a profitable player, you essentially want to be playing cash games. Now, what cash games are this type of contest right here. So when you see this 3-person draft, now you're only going against 2 other people. Now, if you come from the DraftKings world or the FanDuel world, you're essentially playing head-to-head. So, you're playing against one other person. In fact, Underdog, I'm expecting they will drop more of these, and they do have those type of contests as well for the people who want to do 500-person drafts, $1,000 drafts. I know closer to actual kickoff on week one, they will actually have head-to-heads. So these are essentially your cash games. But for the sake of this, we'll explain it as a 3-man. You're essentially only going against 2 other people. It's a $3 entry fee. It is much easier to beat out 2 other people and to profit $5 for each individual, 3-man you do, as opposed to going into the battle royale and trying to go against 56,000 others. So you really want to live in the very small contests, the cash games, which on DraftKings and FanDuel, those can be 50-50s where you're trying to beat half the field. Those can be double ups, head-to-heads, but for the sake of Underdog, it's going to be more 3-man. It's going to be more of your 2-man. These will help you build a steady foundation and essentially grind to a positive ROI. Now, these obviously have a much higher win rate. Think about your league. How easy is it for you to win your league? Probably not very easy. But over the course of the season, you have, made the playoffs because you have won most of your head-to-head. So you got to think of it in that term. I'm going to win most of my head-to-heads. It's hard to win my league, and that's against 12 other people. Well, of course, it's going to be much harder to win a contest against 56,000 other people. So these type of contests are essentially where you want the majority of your bankroll in any given week, about 40 to 60%. If you like very low risk, even as high as 80% essentially. Now, the other step up from that is going to be your small field GPPs. These are your single entry contests and your 3-max. Now, what we mean by that, single entry. So DeBomb is kind of close to that as well. So this is a 444 entrance contest, much smaller than this 56,000. This is a 5 entry max. There's another 5 entry max here. But when I talk about like single entry, like this is a perfect contest, right? Now it's $75. So, you know, if you can afford that, great. I know they have other small field contests that are not quite $75, but you're only going against 144 entrants here, right? And it's single entry. So the Peter Overs that's in the world, they're not putting, you know, a ton of entrance into this. So they got one entry just like you. And these are much more winnables. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about here. So this is the afternoon slate on September 15th of 2024. Okay, so this is very high stakes, but look at, there's only 70 entries here. So let me show you the difference in scoring here. 145 points in this contest. This is courtesy of Fantasy Labs. Now, if we go into that same slate, we go into the $15 100K to first with 39,000 entries. And hopefully this will load because Fantasy Labs doesn't often work very well when I need it to. But you'll see here 171 points. So, I mean, that is a difference of 25 points just because you're only going against 70,000 or 70 people versus 39,000 people. Just so many different player combinations. This type of contest is like the Battle Royale. It is much more difficult to win. You almost have to have the perfect lineup as opposed to the small field that, you know, you could win with a good score, but not a near like perfect optimal score. Like we can go way down here, for example, and this is 163. So, you know, we're, let's say like, I don't know, the top 50, we're looking at 163. So you could see like the difference in the standings. It's like a fraction of a point, and these are all much higher scores. These contests are much more difficult to win. For example, that same contest, a DFS Army subscriber, Miranda, won the 30K power sweep, 3-entry max. This was the afternoon only slate with a score of 154, won $7,500. So these are the type of contests you essentially want to live in. You are rewarded for having a good week, and you don't have to have the perfect lineup. It's more skill-based, less lottery-like, easier to leverage correlation and strategy edges, and realize that positive expected value that you get from actually building those good lineups. Not still, you know, just like, oh, well, I had a good lineup, but I didn't have the perfect lineup, so I lost this one. So that is going to be about, you want 20 to 40% of your money to be in those type of contests if you want to be profitable. And then last, we can talk about it now. The large field GPPs, the Millie Makers, the Battle Royale, these type of contests, you are chasing upside, life-changing payouts. You also have to know how to win these contests. They are much different. So when we talk about the small field, you are building more of like an optimal lineup with mainly maybe one pivot. And what I mean by that is you are essentially playing the best plays in that type of lineup. And maybe, you know, everyone's on Jamar Chase. And you decide, you know, T. Higgins is undervalued. The field is not as high on T. Higgins. So maybe instead of, you know, Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, maybe you do a Joe Burrow and a Justin Jefferson and a T. Higgins type of build. So this type of contest, obviously, you are looking for that one pivot. Maybe Jamar Chase draws Patrick Surtain and T. Higgins has the game, the big game that you need. That is much more easy to realize that type of pivot and strategy and actually win the contest in, you know, the small field versus the large field, where not only did you have to have Joe Burrow and Higgins and fade Chase, but you also had to hit every single other player to almost have the perfect build like you do in the Battle Royales to win those type of contests. You got to understand, you're going to expect to lose most of your entry fees in a contest like this. You know, I've listened to DFS pros and they'll talk about like how they've had huge downswings, you know, losing million plus dollars. So you can run bad. You can lose a lot because that's how large field GPPs are. You have to be perfect. This is your lottery ticket. So really you just want to focus on about 10 to 20% of your bankroll in any given week on these contests. Now, if you're doing well in your cash games and you're doing well in your small field contests, you are going to be able to build a bankroll so you can sustain these losses and you can continue to, take some shots on these lottery tickets here. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we get into actual, drafting and roster construction and all the things that it takes to build for these contests is satellite and overlay hunting. So this is kind of one of the things you want to look for. So you want to enter satellites when overlay is significant, low fill rates. That helps beat the rake. Essentially, what that means is these contests are not going to be full. And I'll give you an example of this in some of the best ball contests that we're seeing right now that are just not going to fill. Like the sprint, guys, it's Monday. This locks on Thursday. There's only 31,000 entries in this. And this is supposed to be 55,000 entries to fill this contest. So this prize pool does not change. There are actually fewer entrants that they are expected. This is not going to fill. So you could potentially, let's say it fills to 40,000 or 45,000. That is 10 to 15,000 less people that you thought you were going to have to compete against. And that is what you want to hunt for. When you go into the lobby on Sunday or on Saturday and you kind of start looking at this, you're like, the battle royale is going to fill, but maybe this extra point here is not going to fill, or the squib kit. So, well, I'm guessing that probably will because it's only $3 entry fee, but you get the idea. So you basically want to chase overlay, and you want to enter contests where the rake is a effectively reduced overlay. And that's another good example. These contests, these lower entry contests, like the flea flicker, you can see right here, the rake is only 7%. So the rake is essentially what the house keeps. The lower the rake, the better it is for you over the long term to be a more profitable player. You can see the rake in the battle royale is 10%. So the lower the rake, the better it is. And essentially, kind of tying this all together here, cash games, if you think about, like, if you have $1,000 bankroll, you're going to want cash games to be about 500 of that in any given week. And, your small field to be about 300 of that. So you want about 800 of your $1,000 bankroll, assuming that was your cash, or that was your bankroll in any given week, to be, about 80% of that bankroll. And then, you look for those satellite opportunities, about 150. And then you would want large field GPPs, like the battle royale, is about 150. And then the satellite, the overlay, about $50. Now, another good one is like the dog bowl. So this type of contest, if you put $25 into here. Now, what's great about this, when we talk about satellites, a lot of times you will see these satellite contests, there could be significant overlay. So you really want to look for that, because this type of contest, if you win first to third, you win 10, you're guaranteed a minimum of 10K. And then you essentially are going to be playing for the option to go to a live final where you could win up to 200K. So the minimum you're going to win is 10K. Then you're going against 35 others for a shot at 200K. So these type of contests over the long haul are very high expected value contests, and definitely something you want to be shooting for in your contest mix. So never risk more than 5 to 10% of your bankroll on a single slate. If your bankroll is for the season is $1,000, right? You want to be playing $50 to $100 each and every slate. The lower the rake, the higher long-term chances of profit. You want to balance upside with sustainability, cash, small field contests, a grind, sprinkle in those large field lottery tickets. So last thing here I want to talk about, guys, is we do tell you how to win these large field contests. So it's not like, oh, don't ever play these contests because you will never win these. I actually wrote an article, and I will put this in the video description, on how to win the NFL Battle Royale on Underdog Fantasy. So I looked at the past 2 years of winning this contest. You can win these contests. At DFS Army, we have a lot of winners over the years that have won over 10K, myself included. We've got guys that have won over 50K, over 100K, who have won the Millie Maker. We got Bobby, wow, two-time Millie Maker champion, on DraftKings. So these contests are winnable, but you have to know how to win these contests. And that's one of the things that we teach you at DFS Army, how to build for these style of contests. So we're going to show you how to build for your cash games. In fact, I'm going to be doing a weekly cheat sheet for cash for DFS Army, as I've done the past couple of years. Won about 70% of my cash games last year. Definitely more than enough to be profitable. But we're going to teach you how to win and to build differently for different contests. You're going to build one way for your 3-mans. You're going to build another way for your 100-mans. And then you're going to build completely different for your large field GPPs where correlation is king. But in a contest like the Battle Royale, it's important to look back and see what's won. And that's one thing that I've covered. What type of stacks win this contest? Okay. That's something that I took a look at. How does half PPR influence roster construction? How often do you want to be drafting with a wide receiver in the flex versus a running back in the flex? You know, how do you want to start your draft? Should you be doing quarterback, tight end? That'll probably differ for your cash games as opposed to, your battle royales. What has worked? As far as, are we looking at ADP? Like, do you want to scoop up value, or are, at times, do you really need to reach for your player? That is something that we focus on. And then one of the most important things of being a DFS Army VIP, winning big like Miranda here, is knowing the projections. So I could show you here, right here. This is week 1 of the NFL season last year. Won the Battle Royale winner. Let me scroll down here. So the Battle Royale winner it actually was a tie, but it was an Anthony Richardson and Joe Mixon, David Achon. So it was also Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara. So Kamara and Achon had the same exact score. So we had a tie. Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, and Kyle Pitts. So this was the winning lineup. These were the 2 winning lineups that tied. But one of the things that you get as a DFS Army VIP is top tier projection systems, so you can make the proper decisions. So each and every week, when you start looking at, how am I going to build my lineups for FanDuel, which is half PPR, or DraftKings, which is full PPR, or, maybe I want to attack the battle royales. I want to see who projects the best. So you go into the domination station, you sort by position, you see Tyreek Hill has a top projection, right? Anthony Richardson, shockingly, has the same projection as Josh Allen. Well, let me tell you a little story. In that contest that week, Anthony Richardson was going 24th overall, and Josh Allen was going 4th overall. So what these winners did is they decided that Anthony Richardson was the value. So what did they do? They went with Tyreek Hill as opposed to drafting Josh Allen in the first, and then they were able to get Anthony Richardson in the 4th round. So it's knowing that type of leverage. Anthony Richardson, even though you can see final points here, he didn't outscore Josh Allen, even though he had the same projection. We're not surprised by that. It's Josh Allen. Even though he didn't outscore him, those Anthony Richardson's and Tyreek Hill lineups were much better than the guy who started with Josh Allen and went, with some other wide receiver. So it's having the projections that you believe, that are reliable, that are, industry leading, like DFS Army has, to know that you can make that leverage decision. And that's something we also teach you at DFS Army, how to leverage ownership. So wrapping it all up, we're going to talk a little bit again about it's knowing what your goals are. If you want to be a lottery ticket type player, those type of contests, great. If you are wanting to be profitable over the long term, it's knowing, what type of contests you're going to play to be profitable, your 3-man drafts, your small field drafts, and those are going to help build that bankroll so you can take some more shots at the battle royales. This is something that we teach you at DFS Army. And guys, it's week 1 right now. So I'll tell you a little bit of what you get at DFS Army. We've got a couple deals going on. And most importantly, though, you get the coaching. You get the projection systems that you see here. By the way, Kamara, Achon, these guys were also ranked highly. And we saw in the winning lineup that you really needed these guys, whether it was Achon or Kamara, the projections, that's key. So that's something that you have each and every week at DFS Army. You also have coaching. So teaching you how to build or how to draft for a specific type of contest. You get the Discord community. So, you're going to get up-to-date just thoughts on each slate. You get the cheat sheets from every DFS coach, many DFS coaches who have won multiple large field GPPs, talking two-time Millie Maker winner, giving you his thoughts on the slate. You get the tools, the research station, the wide receiver versus cornerback matchup. If so-and-so's, if this corner is on this wide receiver, maybe I want to play this wide receiver, wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, which guys are better for zone first man. That's the type of thing that we are going to give you in the cheat sheets. And obviously the domination station, the top projection system, one of the industry leaders as rated by Daily Overlay. So you get all that and you get the community. And we got a couple specials going on right now. Number one, if you want to pay for the whole year, you certainly can. If you're one of those people just like to pay for everything up front, it's going to be $50 off with promo code NFL25. So I will put that in the video description. This will give you $50 off for the year. Second one, guys, if you just want to try us out with the option for it to continue for as long as you want, I've never seen DFS Army offer this good of a promo code. Most companies you'll see out there will do 20% off for the first month, and then it's, just going to be the regular price. We are doing 20% off for life. I cannot tell you how good this promotion is. In addition to NFL, we have MLB, we have NBA, NHL, we have MMA, we have NASCAR, you name it. I do UFL as well. So you can get it. We're doing all sport, or you can just do NFL. But this promo code, I've never seen it before, 20% off for life. It's only good this week until kickoff. Promo code kickoff 2025. I will put that in the video description as well. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope this really helped. And if you're here, you like this kind of content, give us a thumbs up. And I hope you join us this year. Let's win some money.